What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the Good Days Only podcast with me, your boy, OP, Octavio. And we're on episode number 11 today. Wow. Dude, thanks for sticking through it with me. And thanks for tuning in. Hey, this is a podcast, as you know, bringing you some good coffee, good vibes, and good music. And today, got some premier grade A motherfucking coffee. And if you couldn't tell, I'm a little caffeinated already. It is Sunday, January 3rd. We are officially into the new year, 2021. We'll get into that a little bit more in the good days, or the good news section. But without further ado, let's get into the 4 categories for the caffeine breakdown. All right. And hey, for the caffeine breakdown today, let's get into the 4 categories: the coffee name and the roaster. Number 1, the roast type is number 2. Number 3, the brew style, the coffee grind type. And number 4, the appearance and packaging, taking us home. And today, let's get right into it. Number 1 with the coffee name and the roaster here. Let me get a little sip first. That's some good caffeine. We have Dire Straits Coffee Roasters hitting us with the Clicker Mountain Blend. That's a lot of words. That's like 7 words right there. And you know what? It's a little bit of a mystery coffee today because your boy, this was one of the coffees that I have received in the last couple weeks from just family, friends, the holiday season, and I have no idea. There's nothing online, so we can't really get a message or a background for this coffee, but I was able to find some information. It's out of the hometown, Walla Walla, Washington, near the hometown where I grew up. My part of the country, all right, operating out of a little cafe called Coffee Perk in downtown Walla Walla there. If you ever find yourself there, it's a cute little spot, a little cafe. You can get yourself, some little pastries, a good cup of joe, enjoy the scenery of the main downtown, the hustle and bustle through the city streets, especially around this holiday season. A lot of people were out there walking, surprisingly, when I was down there. But I got to thank my brother for this one, this coffee, this grade A coffee. Thank you. Shout out. Only downside is I have no idea what is, let's just move into the roast type. Not really sure. Don't have any information on this. Maybe when you go into the cafe, it'll say, which type of roast. But I'm going to guess that this is a dark roast. It was nowhere to be found on the bag. Also, nowhere online. Unfortunately, Dire Straits Coffee Roasters does not have a website. I was able to do a little digging around and found a Facebook page that might be Dire Straits Coffee Roasters. Again, has not been updated in some time, so not really sure. But I'm going to go with a dark roast in my not so professional guess. It was very easy to grind, and that's what I'm basing this off of. Okay. Also, when I popped it in my mouth, it tasted like it had been roasted for some time, which makes me think, it's a dark roast. I feel like dark roasts are not as dense, as the lighter roasts. So when you put it in the grinder, it just kind of crumbles apart a little bit easier. It just kind of makes sense in my mind. Maybe that's not how it works, but I think that might be how it works. Also, when drinking this cup, very smooth throughout. No acidity, virtually no acidity. thinking of the flavors on this, again, because we don't have really a background or anything. On the nose, get a little bit of the cocoa powder, of course, the dark chocolate, the deep dark chocolate. What I did taste, and what I thought was really funny, personally, when you see the tasting notes of like leather and mahogany or whatever, I'm always like, bro, who's tasting leather? But it actually just clicked with me this time that like the smell of leather, when you smell something, you can kind of taste it too. That's why everybody's grossed out by farts, because you're like, ew, I can smell that, and you kind of taste it. But that's what I think they mean by the leather, right? I guess, because I feel like nobody that I know is out here chewing on leather. But when you sip this, smooth throughout, not sweet, but not tart, not bitter. And at the very end, I do get a little bit of that leather, as your that leather finish. Let me get a little sip. But it's not anything that's bad, because overall, again, this is a delicious cup of coffee. I just wish I knew a little bit more information about what's going on here. A little bit of smoky, I would say, probably on the nose, the aromas. It's a slight resemblance to when you catch, like, you're walking outside, you're walking down the street, you're walking outside, and you get a little whiff of a wood pellet grill cooking up some or just burning some pellets. Maybe it's a couple blocks away, and you just catch that whiff, and you're like, whoa, where's that coming from? Right? It's a little bit of a nice little smoky smell. Those are the aromas I'm getting here. Again, not really sure if that's what is intended. Maybe my sniffer's off. But let's move into the brew style here, all right? And let me start by saying, these beans, when opening them out of the bag, these beans had the strongest scent. Again, I got this as a gift. It came in, actually, a vacuum sealed bag. And I was like, what the hell is this? And my brother that got me the beans was like, yeah, I had to get you the vacuum sealed bag. So he vacuum sealed it after he had bought it in like one of those plastic things, because there was no seal on this bag, and that'll get into the appearance and packaging. But the bag was just open and then like twisted around a little bit, and the wire seal was like half-assed on there, and there was no actual like adhesive on the inside of the bag. But so he had to vacuum seal the bag. When I opened the vacuum seal, the smell was just like everywhere in the room. It just filled the room, which was actually kind of nice. It was kind of cozy, But these beans also, when just looking at the beans, look magnificent, beautiful, grade A quality. They looked a little bit more oily, as you'll see on the Instagram post. I'm going to take a picture. I took a picture and I'm going to post it. But I looked this up because I hadn't realized this before. Some beans look more oily than others when you open the bag up, or when you're pouring them into your grinder. And it was thought for the longest time that meant that the oils were escaping from the bean, and that they were, that the quality of that bean would be less. But the myth was debunked or busted. It is, the oils are releasing from the bean, but the longer that they roast, these oils kind of coat the outside, it seems like. At least that's what I gathered from the forums. And that's another thing that led me to think of more of a dark roast, right? So let me get a little sip here. Again, all this information is stuff that I found online, and we all know how the internet works. So if some of this stuff is not right on the dot, reach out to your boy. Let me know if you know some other information, if you know some other tips. All right. But beans, amazing. When they grind up nice. Did a medium fine to a fine grind here for the pour over. It was a nice, like, deep, dark brown when pouring the coffee into the cup that I've got here. And like I was mentioning, those beans looked oily on the outside, and it was actually noticeably oily, more oily than other coffees that I have ground up and poured into the filter on the pour over. When stirring it with the stirring stick, as it's, as the beans are soaking and it's going through the filter, there was a little bit more of that oily residue on that stirring stick than I've noticed in the past. So I don't know what I don't know what that has to do with the flavors and how that might affect them. I'm sure it does, but just something that I noticed. The brew style here, of course, we got the pour over. Okay, yeah, fight me. All right, it's convenient, and you can brew some damn good coffee like we got here today. The Clickers Mountain Blend. It's a nice full body, again, with the oils wrapping your mouth, coating the inside of your mouth. And as you swallow, a little bit of that hint of leather. But let's talk a little bit of about the appearance and packaging. And as I mentioned, no room for creativity here. But it's all right. The coffee roasters, the talk is in the bean. The talk is in the bean, especially with this one, because we got some good coffee. No real background information. We got the brown bag, again with the wire seal, but the wire seal didn't really even have, any seal on the bag. Usually you have some sort of adhesive or a sticky glue, on the inside of a bag when you open it up. Even if you take the seal and you unravel it, usually you have to, tear through some adhesive. But somebody forgot to put this one together. I don't know if that was just like on the line, somebody just forgot to run the glue stick across the bag at the very end of the conveyor belt. But no adhesive on this one, and that's why it came in the vacuum seal from my brother. I think that might just be how it comes. It's interesting. So I definitely had to transfer that into an airtight container. But it looks like, you got a brown bag here. They got the gold label on it. It's got the Dire Straits Coffee Roasters logo. And simple, which leads me to think it's just like a mom and pop shop. They have a cafe and they roast their coffee for the cafe. And if you want some of this coffee, you got to come in to the facility, come into the cafe, get some of this coffee, and chat a little bit about the background, which I did not do, but something that in the future, on another trip back to the old stomping ground, might have to swing by there and chat it up with I believe the owner's last name is actually Dyer, so Mr. Dyer, Mr. and Mrs. Dyer, if there is a Mr. and Mrs. Dyer, I don't know. But looks like you got to take a trip to the old stomping grounds in Walla Walla to get some of this Clickers Mountain Blend. Head up to Scene, maybe in the spring or the summertime, for some premium motherfucking wine too. They got all the wine out there. Some rich history for the Pacific Northwest. Overall, though, let's wrap up this coffee here. This Clicker Mountain Blend flavor profile 100% on this one. But dude, no information about anything, it's the 21st century. So you got to have something on Google. But also I respect that too a little bit. I take it back. I like that. You're just doing your thing. You're making some coffee. You're roasting some coffee for your little cafe maybe. And, kicking ass, but not showboating, not on the internet and, doing all the web things. And you just got your business. People that come to you for your business keep you alive. If you know. As long as it's enough to get by, that's dope. And I appreciate your hard work into getting these beans right for this delicious cup of Joe Dire Straits Coffee Roasters. Thank you very much for this Clickers Mountain Blend. For the sake of the categories of the review here, not much on the background, no roast type details, no nothing, dude, no info on this one. It's a mystery coffee. That's why I call it a mystery coffee. But again, kick-ass brew. Let me get a little sip real quick. So you know what? I'm gonna give this a 6. No info, but the flavor is good enough to keep you afloat. Should be maybe lower than that. I don't know. Soft spot too for the hometown representing, out of Walla Walla, roasting some great coffee. And thank you again. Shout out to Chuy, my brother, for getting me this coffee. Very, very interesting cup of Joe here. Let's get into some good news here. Ding, ding, ding. It's the new year, 2021. That's right. Got some New Year's resolutions, maybe, which I never really understood. I don't know. I don't really have New Year's resolutions. I feel like I've never had that. But I get it. I get the concept, and it's like a fresh start. Leave it all leave some things in the past that maybe you didn't want to carry on into the new year with you. New year, new you. Do your thing. Set some goals. Accomplish that. It's awesome. What year are we in? Is it the year of the dog? Let me look this up real quick. What year just was it? In the Chinese calendar? I think we were just in the year of the dog, but I could be wrong. I'm not really sure. I'm just saying that. Looks like 2021. The year of the ox. That's cool. Tough, right? I don't know. There's usually little notes about what the year of the whatever it is, so. And it looks like we were in the year of the rat in 2020. Of course, the year of the rat. What the hell is that kind of year? That's why it was so shitty. Jeez. The year of the rat. Let's see. The ox, stability and nourishment. Okay. That's good. Okay, before we get too much into that rabbit hole, is the year of the ox, everybody. So, take that as you will. I don't know. The days are getting longer, though, which is nice. In the Pacific Northwest, it was getting pretty depressing. It was, you wake up, you go outside, you walk the dog, it's dark outside. And then you get home from work or school or whatever you were doing that day, and it's dark outside at 3:30 p.m. And you're like, why is it dark outside? It's the middle of the day. And nobody has a good answer. Well, the sun's creeping in the window a wee bit earlier, and setting a little later. December solstice, the winter solstice, took place like a week or two ago, and that marked the shortest day, or the first day of winter in the northern hemisphere. And the southern hemisphere's longest day happened on that same day, the first day of summer. So the earth is tilting on the axis, I believe, is what that means, right? I don't know. I don't know, but summer's coming. Days are getting longer, and that's a good sign, because it was, again, I'm just saying, it's getting depressing. I see why people in Seattle, what's the seasonal affective disorder? Is that what it is? Seasonal anxiety. That thing happens, right? Seasonal depression. That's what it is. People get that. And I feel like I've heard or seen articles about Seattle in particular, with the gloomy weather usually, and COVID on top of it. But we're on the turn, people. We're on the turn. 2021. Just got vaccinated. Some good news there. First dose of the Pfizer vaccine was about a week ago. Hey, I was sore as shit for a day or two. That's all right. We're recovered now. That shoulder's good. My third leg is growing steadily. Just kidding. No, it's all good. I feel fine. I feel good. See, I'm still me. Still, I haven't turned into a zombie yet. 21 days later, though, that should be the title of the movie. Once this global pandemic turns into a global zombie apocalypse. But 21 days later, there's already a movie, I think, that's 28 days later, which I think has a eerily, similar plot. I don't know exactly what that movie's about. I just know that I watched it a long time ago and it was scary. But 21 days later, going to go back in for round 2 of the vaccine. It's a 2-shot vaccine to get fully vaccinated. Give me a couple weeks. I'm going to be in Hawaii sipping Mai Tais while all y'all are still wearing masks. And, you're going to be jealous because I'm going to be posting selfies. Just kidding. Still going to be wearing a mask and still practicing social distancing. But it's a step in the right direction. We're moving forward, putting 2020 behind us. New year, new us, 2021. Look at that. Get vaccinated. That's a New Year's resolution. Hey, let's move a little bit here. Switch gears into the animal kingdom. Because y'all know I like my animals. There was newly identified slithery little serpents, little snakes, called the Levitonius mirus, also known as the Warre-Dorf burrowing snake, is native to the islands of Samar and Leyte in the Philippines. And, dude, I hate snakes. But I was scrolling along this, and a couple things of silver linings here. Good news. They're nowhere near where I live. But it's also just a really cool thing when I feel like when researchers, scientists find new life or just new things on the planet. I was just talking about this the other day. Is like, I feel like there's so many people in the world now, right? And you think like back to like Lewis and Clark or whatever, expeditions that were happening into uncharted, unknown territory. Everything was new, just like even like the trees that we, just drive by on our way to work and don't really think about. They were like looking at all these trees like, what the hell is this thing, And then imagine walking into the redwoods in California for the first time and nobody knew that there were trees that were that gigantic. But, so when something new is discovered, it's just really cool. But scientists discovered this new snake. It was actually a gentleman by the name of Jeff, graduate research assistant at the University of Kansas. The Biodiversity Institute found out 3 specimens of snakes preserved in their collection there at the Institute. They were actually found back in 2006 and 2012, and they were just being kept there. They were overlooked up to this point, but they belong to a category of their own. And there were 3 snake specimens, and they're the only known members of the snake genus called Levitonius, a new snake species called Levitonius mirus. They did these different, DNA analysis and CT scans, which, what? I didn't even know that they had CT scans for snakes. Bro, what? So they did all these CT scans, they did this DNA analysis, and identified this new Levitonius mirus. And it's native to the Philippines. Everybody out in the Philippines, be careful, stay safe. It's got among the fewest number of vertebrae of any snake species in the world, according to the study, and has a long and narrow skull relative to its size. Oh, God, just thinking about, yeah, I just hate snakes. One time, I almost got bit by a snake. We used to live really close to a river growing up, and my brother and I would go and just like fish or swim or whatever in the summertime. and we were walking down to the river. There's this little bluff that we had to like kind of climb down and then jump across like a little a little ditch that was on the side of the road that was there, just to catch water whenever it rained or if the river flooded. And so we had to jump over this little gap, and I was climbing down the little bluff before I was about to take my leap. And we've done this like 100 other times, and this time it just felt funny. I remember it felt weird. I was like 12 maybe, and I just had this odd feeling like, God, I should not be here right now for some reason. It was weird. And as I'm climbing down, I thought I had heard rattles of like a rattlesnake, because those are very common out where we lived out in the country. And so I was familiar with the sound of the rattle, but it sounded different. So I just kind of like, shrugged it off. And I was climbing off this little bluff. Right as I'm about to jump, I look over, and right by where my foot is, there's a small little motherfucking snake with a little rattle, and it was trying to rattle. And these guys are dangerous because it was a baby rattlesnake, or like a young rattlesnake. Because I guess they don't know how to control the amount of venom that they release. So when they release it, they give you like a huge dose. I don't know if that's true. That's what I heard growing up, and that's what I've believed all this time. It might not be true. If it's not true, again, let me know. But right as I was about to leap, this motherfucker leaped too, and it snatched onto. I almost died, dude. I could have died. We didn't have any cell phones. My little brother would have had to run like a mile up and down these rocky, like bushed area, and to get help. But yeah, no, it jumped at me. It actually caught onto my shorts and then fell off when I hit the ground, because it was like midair. I jumped, the snake latched onto my shorts and then fell off of my leg as I like landed, and that was the most traumatic experience. Yeah, it was crazy. Oh man, I just got chills just thinking about that. But I don't know how we got on that. There's a new snake in the world. Yes, new snake in the world in the Philippines. Levitonius Miras, welcome. Stay away from me, but thanks for being a part of this world. Let's move on. Hey, a new stimulus check? Did you receive your stimulus check? I have not gotten a stimulus check. I don't know if I'm going to be getting that. No 2K though? Come on, man. But that's good. Much needed money going out into people's hands, that especially those that have been, laid off from work for all this time, need to pay the bills, need to pay rent. But I did see some articles, the counter argument being, give some of that money instead of giving the $2,000 to everybody, give it to the businesses and the companies so that they can open their doors up and start hiring employees again, which, not gonna lie, also sounds like a great option. Sounds like our government's not wanting to do that though, so that's kind of ass. But sounds like unemployment benefits were extended as well. People that have been filing for unemployment will be able to receive those benefits for a little bit longer. At least hopefully, once these vaccines start rolling out, and we'll see if there's going to be a turn of the tide, and hopefully businesses are able to open back up again and get rolling, if they are still even able to open. God, dude, yeah, 2020 sucked. Oh, yeah. But in other news, I went fishing the other day. It was cold as a motherfucker. It was like 48 degrees out, and it was raining sideways, and it was windy. We actually called it quits a little bit early because it got way too windy. Like we had anchored down. We were out in a little boat. We had anchored down, and the anchor was no longer doing anything. Like we were still floating away. So we had to call it early. But we got a couple of fishies, a couple little hogs, dude. Actually, some rainbow trout. Filleted them up, and gonna be cooking some of that, this week. And this is one of the things that, people that say like there's more hate against hunters and like hunting and like animal, like why would you go out and hunt that animal, and go kill this beautiful creation. And I've watched a lot of like hunting videos and like fishing videos, and people that are professional hunters and fishermen go out and do it. And if you hear their stories, it's it's just like it's the most humane way to do it, honestly. Like if like you have trained, like you're not going out there and just like shooting blindly at animals, or when you're fishing, you're not like tossing dynamite over the edge. It's not like with the factories either, where they're just being mistreated and like run through the mud. And I'm kind of hopping back and forth between fish and other animals, but you feel such a sense of accomplishment, like going out and fishing, and you prepared you got your tackle box, you got your rod, you got your reel, if you have a boat, you got the boat. If not, whatever, you planned out where you're gonna go fishing, you looked at the map, you looked at the weather conditions, and you're going out there for a purpose, right? And it's very soothing. It's a sort of a meditative experience if you're out there and you're out in nature, out in Mother Nature, and you hook onto this fish, and it's like an instinct thing. It's like an instinctual, primal, like the switch is just on. Like, all right, I am the predator and you are the prey, right? But it's more fun than that. I don't know. It's a complicated thing. But it was really fun. Went out fishing, got some good fish, and excited to cook those up. It's always a good day when you don't get skunked, especially in not so ideal weather conditions. So happy for that. Dude, you know what? I'm rambling here. Let's go on to the Good Days Only playlist, the GDO playlist this week. And before I get into this, I want to mention, maybe just me, but I realized within the last year or so, there's been so much music just out there, like way more than, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize this. Like before, I would just listen to like rap, hip hop, country, a little bit of rock. I mean, we all went through like a rock and roll phase, right, in like middle school or whatever, but mainly what my music taste consisted of was like hip hop, rap, and like that was it, and country, just living where I lived. And never really explored, like I didn't really even explore R&B until like recently. But there's all the different genres, like it has blown my mind as I've started to do this a little bit more, and like look into different artists. There's just so much out there. I thought I knew a little bit about music maybe, but really, I don't know shit. But it's awesome and I enjoy it, and I think a lot of us enjoy it. But just all the different genres out there and how they all differ across different cultures, countries, languages, and then there's, like classical music, like Victoria, like opera, like Victorian era, like opera and shit. But I don't know. Let's get into the GDO artist playlist. Drum roll, please, for this gentleman out of South London, the UK, Benjamin Gerard Coyle-Larner. That is a name and a half. I like it. Known professionally as Loyal Carner. A nice little play on the name, on the last name there. He's an English hip-hop musician. His first EP came out in 2014 titled A Little Late. And his next album came out in 2017, so 3-year gap there, and this one was titled Yesterday's Gone, and this was my introduction to Loyal Carner, actually. The first song I had heard, and I remember this vividly because I was just sitting in my room in college. Like, I was in college, sitting in my room. I think I was studying or something. I had YouTube on in the background, I had it just playing random in the background while studying or something, and this video came on of this dude cooking while rapping and with this thick accent, right? And I was like, what? And there's just this music video for this song, and right there I was like, dude, this dude's flow is sick. I really liked his flow, and his accent was dope. And just the fact that his music video, like, he was like cooking in his music video, I was like, what? This is awesome. So fast forward to 2019, he released another album titled Not Waving But Drowning, again with the great flow in all of the album. Now he has, I think this is like my favorite type of flow for a rapper. Stuff like you bob your head to. He's rapping about real shit though. He's telling a story, painting a picture, coloring the canvas, opening our minds to some creative genius, letting us peek inside, what his thought process is in a magnificent form. Dude, he's talking about real stuff, living in the inner city, growing up, losing his father, but this man, he's a really interesting guy. As I was looking into it a little bit more, he has a cooking school, actually, and it's called Chili con Carne, which is a great name for a cooking school as well. He's started this several years ago for young teens ages 14 to 16 with ADHD. As a space where they can explore their creativity, just to be their true selves, without that judgment that might be received in other settings. Being diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, Loyal Carner, he's had open conversations, about this, and open about his diagnosis and how his music and how cooking serve as creative outlets for him. And it's just awesome because, he's been doing this cooking school for like 4 or 5 years, something that's just, he's out there just helping the youth, helping the next generation. It's great. Oftentimes there's a negative stigma around, the diagnosis of ADHD. They're distracted, disruptive kids, or other negative connotations. But that's what he talks about in an interview that I watched, that, cooking, it takes all these distractions, you're distracted on, he said something along the lines of like, you're distracted by X, Y, and Z, these other things, but while you're cooking, all these distractions are like things that you have to pull together to make that final product, which is really cool. It's like a cool way to put that into perspective for somebody looking from the outside in. But I think I'm rambling a little bit, and we're going to bring this to a close here. Episode number 11 in the books. And check out that GDO playlist on the Apple Music link or the Spotify link. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for rocking with me. Hey, see you next time. Episode number 12. And as always, much love. Peace.